Well, join him here on Christmas Clatter for the first time solo. He's been here twice before, but both times on a Merry Melee with a whole host of other people. Is the one and only first time ever Merry Melee champion, Tim Babb from Can't Wait for Christmas podcast. Hey, Tim, thanks for joining me.
Merry Melee champion. Booyah.
Yes. Yes.
The only one who can claim that at this time.
Yes.
And thank you for having me.
Yes. Well, thank you for coming on. I was hoping that we could make this work out because I wanted you to be the, guest right after my plan was to have the winner of the Melee, as the guest afterwards. And if you guys haven't seen or listened to the Melee, go back and listen to it. It was pretty epic event.
I mean, yeah, it did end up being lengthy.
Yes, they do end up being lengthy, and I need to do better about that. I'm not sure how, but lots of ideas and thoughts swirling around on those. So
I feel like it's partially my fault. Whenever I'm a guest on the podcast goes long. So
doesn't hurt my feelings, and not to get into the numbers. It seems like the people don't mind it being long either. So as long as they are entertained,
that's what's important.
Yes. So, how has your life changed since you won the Merry Melee?
I mean, the sky is bluer.
Yep.
Eggnog tastes sweeter. Which is a lie. I don't like eggnog. I have found myself bragging about it to people who didn't listen, as though they should be impressed. Like, I'll be having a conversation with my family. I'm like, that reminds me. I had to pretend that I didn't like the movie National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, and I sold it. Where are you going? Hey, I'm still talking.
Oh, man. You'll be resting on those laurels for many Christmases to come.
That was a super lucky pull for that particular question because I had just done a thing on Christmas Vacation not long before that. And when I was doing research on it, one of the things that had come up is people being like, looking at it through the modern day lens and how like just people nitpicking and finding faults with it. I'm like, oh, I remember reading those articles. I can just regurgitate some of those plots some of those points that I can remember.
Oh yeah. Yeah, you did wonderful. That was really, I think that's what kind of locked in your confidence, because that was a tough round. Those blind fights have to be really tough to be, that quick on your feet to think of that kind of thing. So, but I kind of like them. I like the element of surprise to it.
Yes,
and,
yeah.
And that way the fighters don't know what's coming. It's to get behind the scenes of the Melee a little bit. The fighters submit, about 3 answers for each question, and then we go through and make sure they don't have the same answer, and they get locked in, and sometimes they get their second or third choice for the answer, but then they get about a week or so to prepare and things. And the blind fight, they have no idea what's coming, so it's all off the top of their head and see how they can adjust, and I can imagine it's tough.
I'm glad I just never had to do the tiebreaker either time, because both times my answer for the tiebreaker was awful.
It does require a little bit of luck, I suppose, but
the first time, the first time it was like, who's the Hallmark movie queen? And my first 2 answers were picked by the other 2 people, so I had to go with my third, who was like, I was just like, who's the third person? And I scribbled down a name.
That is tough. I have a feeling that I had a missed opportunity on the, and I didn't realize it till after the Melee, on the speed round, lightning round, quick round. And if you ever hear me refer to that as something completely different, it's because I can't think of a great name, and if I do, I always forget it, so I just refer to all 3. And we had the Expendables question about which Expendables should be go to Hallmark, and it's like, maybe the next question should be which Hallmark queen goes to do an action franchise, so.
I feel like Lacey Chabert would be my pick for an action franchise.
Yeah.
I think she could do it. She could pull that off.
I think she could pull it off. I could see her doing like a spy kind of
Yeah,
know,
or like someone who
thriller
like someone
thing.
who stumbles into it, like now she's a spy. Like, wait, this is not what
Yeah.
I just. Oh well, I got to do it now.
Yeah, yeah. So, you know, that might appear in the season 2 of the Merry Melees. You just never know. But
Stay tuned.
I got a few. Yeah, I don't know if I told you, but I have a few changes for season 2 of the Melee, and I hope you'll come back and fight and judge for them. But I'm gonna have 2 permanent judges for each one to kind of give it some consistency. And Jerry D from Totally Rad Christmas and Chris from Christmas Time in the City are going to sit in as permanent judges, and then I'll have one like rotating guest judge, and that
Nice.
hopefully give it a little bit more consistency, you know, for the fighters to be able to prepare answers and things. And then Jerry's going to take over the host duties, and then I'm going to hop in and fight on an episode. So,
But are you still going to come up with the questions? Because that seems like it's cheating.
nope. Nope, that'll be all on Jerry and Chris.
All right.
That's why I want it. That's why I wanted 2 permanent judges, so they can get a couple rounds in, and then they can take it over. And I'm not even going to be in charge of who the other 2 fighters are. It'll be all on them. So, yeah. So I can't wait for that.
It's funny because you've probably seen a lot of people fight and be like, I want to get in on that fighting action. Whereas I've been like fighting a couple times, like I'd like to get into that judging action. I would like to be the one in control of people's fate.
Yes,
like
yes. I tell you what, the host judge is a little bit tough. I mean, it's got the questions going on, but then you kind of have to herd the cats a little bit sometimes, and get in there and with the internet lag, sometimes that's a little bit tougher, you know. So, but it's a lot of fun. We have a good time. So it just takes a minute to get them done. Well, Tim, you've been Christmas podcasting almost just about as long as anybody else has at this point. There might be 2 or 3 podcasts before you.
Yeah, I feel at least. Yeah, there were some going when I started, like, because mine's not quite 6 years old yet. It will be in July.
Yeah, it was one of the first ones I discovered when I first thought, you know, there has to be Christmas podcasts, and I binged through it. I binged through it in a hurry and got caught up, and then, you know, stayed caught up from there. If you've told the story in our podcast, I apologize. It's been a little bit since I heard it, but how did you decide to start Can't Wait for Christmas?
I don't know. I mean, I just generally there was one Christmas where I was working 3 jobs. I was working 2 like in-person jobs, and I was telecommuting before COVID for a 3rd job, and I still managed to work in some stand-up gigs all at the same time. So I completely missed the run up to Christmas. Like all of this was during the run up to Christmas. So like I had no spare time for Christmas goodness. And then like I remember we like threw lights on the house. I bought them. I bought them like 2 days before Christmas, and then threw lights on the house. And then, you know, we had Christmas, and I remember the day after Christmas we had to leave somewhere. So like we had to rip down the tree because we didn't want to leave because it was a real tree at the time. So we didn't want to leave an old, you know, dying tree sitting in the house where it could catch fire. So we had to like rip off all the decorations, take down the tree, leave it out on the curb. And like, so Christmas just it seemed like Christmas just started and stopped for me in like less than a week. And sorry, I keep kicking the leg of the table, and that makes the entire camera wobble. I don't want you to think just because it's California, we're constantly having earthquakes during this interview. So then like for some reason I've never been able to catch up since that year. Like I'm always in the mood for Christmas, like all the time. And so I decided to channel that into a podcast where I could find maybe there's some like-minded visuals out there who wanted to listen to somebody jibber jabber about Christmas, and then I could look into things that I didn't know about Christmas or things that I already knew a lot about and could talk about. And that's basically why I decided to start it.
Yeah. I'm so glad you did, because I understand that that Christmas that kind of gets away from you. I had one like that too, and it was like, never again will this happen. I will not put my tree up that late or anything. And I, you know, it's like, and it's like never again will that happen. And in fact, a few years ago, on a much smaller scale, it's like, I used to have this rule where I didn't listen to Christmas music till like July, and then I just kind of started slowly listening to it over and over, more and more as Christmas comes. And then it was like one Christmas, it's like I didn't feel like I listened to enough, so I was like changing my rule. I'm listening to it whenever I want to now, So.
Although ironically, and I don't know if this is probably true for you too, like now that you have a Christmas podcast, December and November can become really busy with doing stuff for the podcast. So you kind of miss
Yes.
out on some actual Christmas stuff like IRL. You're like, wait,
Yes.
ironically, I have cursed myself to miss more Christmas by talking about Christmas.
Yeah. See, last year I went to weekly plus episodes, and I was like, I'm going to record all these and have them ready. And so all I have to do is upload them. And yeah, life is paved with good intentions, So it's like the night before, they're just trying to get something that seems like a thought put together and recorded.
Oh yes, many a times I've been there. I'm like, because I've set that hard deadline of the 25th of every month. So sometimes that, like, just a couple days ago, it was like the 24th. Well, actually, it was already the 25th. It was like 3 a.m. I'm like, come on, it's got to come together. Come on. Like I had finished editing it, except like the sound. I had added clips from. I did the top 5 British panel shows and their Christmas moments, and for some reason when I recorded the clips the first time, they just had a over it.
Oh no!
And I was like, it's not that noticeable. And then as I'm listening back to it again, I'm like, nope, I got to do that all over again. But I had waited till I had finished editing the entire episode before I went and heard that, and I was like, nope, it's not good enough. I gotta go back and redo it. And so I was like, why do I do this to myself? Why don't I have a top 5
man.
list of things that don't require a clip?
Yeah, you do like I did with the top 5 Hallmark ornaments on YouTube. You can do Hallmark ornaments. The Santa Claus with the bag.
On an audio podcast, that's perfect. Yeah, this one.
Right.
You can't see it. It's
Yep.
great.
Yeah. The reindeer one with the red nose. And at number 3.
I actually think I did do that one year when they released a bunch of ornaments that I happened to like, that I happened to particularly like. And I actually ended up buying whatever I picked as number 1.
Yes, you did, and you described them in great detail. And in fact, a few of them I had to go look at. It's like the year they came out with that Disney choir that sung together. They like linked together somehow, and
I've got them.
Yeah, I remember you talking about those. Yeah,
I
those
just
were
moved
cool.
them to the new
Very
house.
cool. Yeah, they were very cool. I was like, man, those are worth buying. But
Speaking of the things you're going to get around to, like I keep meaning to like just listen to each of them at a time so I can sing Jingle Bells in the same harmony that they do. But I'm always like, yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that later. And like they're up for the whole Christmas season. I'm like, sometime when the kids aren't around, I'm just going to grab them and listen to one, figure out that's I guess the tenor part, that's the baritone, and that's the bass. Okay, I got it. I mean, I assume Goofy's the bass. It can't be Mickey.
I would.
Yeah, I would
take
it low.
Yeah, what? It wouldn't be Donald for sure.
Yeah, no.
It'd have to be good. Yeah, I remember before I even had a podcast, I would like email or message you as at the podcast for different things you put up, and I was like, I got so excited when you would read those on the air or make mention of them, and it's like, man, that's a good feeling. And then it's kind of one of those inspirations to get me to do Christmas Clatter. It's like, man, I need to be involved in this Christmas stuff year round. I just love it too much. And
it is nice to be able to like when you get feedback from the listeners, it's good to be able to incorporate it into the show. Yeah. I'm sure you find this as well. You're like, well, I mean, you're the ones listening. This is essentially for you. So let's bring more of what you want to talk about in here.
Yeah. Yeah. See, one of the big things I get feedback for is my Christmas memories, and I love doing them, and people want more, but I'm like, this will be my 44th Christmas. I don't have that many memories, to share. So I have to save them for certain episodes. So it's not,
that's like my
not
kids.
Like I personally have.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. But go ahead.
Oh, well, it's not actually Christmassy, but my kids like my wife and I, to tell real stories about our life. Like, for some reason, that just entertains them. Like, after regular bedtime stories, we have to tell a real story about something that happened, either growing up or even, shortly before they were born or even after they were born that they might not remember. And it's like, we're running, like, we've been doing this every night for at least before COVID started. So we're, like, I can tell you about the time I went to the store and bought eggs. Like, I'm running out of interesting things. I'm not a secret agent. Not that much has happened to me.
Yeah. I remember here not long ago, I had to take my 8-year-old somewhere, and she was going to have to sit and wait for like 30 minutes in a waiting room. And she was like just beside herself. I'm like, you have a phone with like the unlimited video catalog that you can watch on there or games to play. It's like, it's not going to be that hard to wait 30 minutes. And I told her, I said, my mom used to sell real estate, and she used to take us, and we had to sit in the conference room for like an hour, and all I had was like one G.I. Joe with me. I couldn't like lay on the floor. I had to sit there and and my sister would have like a piece of paper and a pen, and so
my mom just showed me a doodle I had done on of like it was Lucasfilm Fan Club magazine, and it came like we had a subscription, so it came in instead of a plastic thing, they just had like a cardboard paper, almost like a grocery bag material, but that was over the cover, so it was like an extra cover made of just that. And I doodled like an entire Death Star battle going on, like with like a Death Star, like a bunch of TIE fighters and X-wings and A-wings, and I'm like, I must have been bored this day because it was intricate. Like there was a lot going on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
People don't understand what we had to do before phones. We just had to doodle.
Yes, just doodle. Just grab a pen and a paper and yeah. That there looks like a car, especially for someone like me that can't draw at all. I have no artistic ability in me. It's like, I'm real proud of something I drew, and people look at it and you just tell they're like, "What is this?" But
that's why Star Wars is so great. It's just a circle and then a bunch of H's with a bulge in the middle, and you got TIE fighters and a Death Star.
Oh yeah, I should have thought of that. Yeah, I should have thought. I was always trying to draw G.I. Joes.
That's way
for
too
some
intricate.
reason. It's like this black guy, this black dot here. That's Snake Eyes. So, but yeah. What's getting back to your podcast, since you're coming out, you said 6 years now. What's one thing you think you've learned from doing your podcast about Christmas? Is there anything that just kind of stood out in your mind that really kind of surprised you? That
how much love, like I'm surprised, like there are little pockets of Christmas that I'm surprised how much love they get. Like I knew when I did the episode on Nightmare Before Christmas, I knew that had a following. But when I did the episode on Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas, the Jim Henson short whatever special, I guess, like people loved it. And people were like, can't wait to talk about it. I was like, I vaguely remembered it, but like people hold that near and dear to their heart. And it's just, like you're just going through various Christmas stuff to talk about. You're like, oh, I'll talk about this. And people are like, I love that. I'm like, oh, well, great. I'm glad I talked about it.
Yeah, I love Emmett Otter. In fact, I have an Emmett, I should have worked for this interview. I have an Emmett Otter shirt, but it's kind of like a off-Broadway shirt. It's not officially licensed, so it's just kind of
the
like,
devil you say.
Yeah,
I don't think
it's like it's like
I don't think they're licensing merch for that anymore.
Yeah, it's like the imaginary listener that kind of looks like Emmett Otter the Jug Band, And there's been a few times I'll just wear it, year round, and there's been I don't know 2 or 3 times where someone at the counter, if I'm checking out like at the gas station or something, the guy behind the counter goes, "Is that Emmett Otter?" I'll be like, "Yes." He goes, "Cool." It was like this moment we connected,
Yeah, people were like, "Oh, that's my jam right there." That Emmett Otter.
Yeah. So,
for me, the Christmas toy was the one. Oh, sorry.
I said, unfortunately for me, it's always been guys that look way older than I do, but that's okay.
I mean, yeah, it is not for the younger generation who likes everything quick cuts and fast, because it is certainly not that.
Right. No. What was you gonna say?
Oh, the Christmas toy is the Jim Henson
Yes.
special that like I was doing something and I heard the song from it and it was just like a whoosh of, oh, I so remember this. And how much
Yeah.
how much Toy Story aped from that plot.
Oh yeah, yeah. That was something I didn't remember either till you brought it up. It was like, oh my goodness, this is getting serious. This might end up in court until Disney throws some money around. but, but I think they've been down that road once or twice before. So
That's probably why Disney bought the Muppets, just so they wouldn't have to hear about it.
yeah. Well, did they get it? Is it Emmett Otter theirs, or is it one of those confound things?
Emmett Otter is still Jim Henson Productions, which is a separate company. And I believe Christmas
Right.
Toy is too, because I know they had to strike a deal with Disney to keep the Kermit the Frog scenes in there for
Right.
at least for Emmett Otter. And I know they were in the Amazon release of Christmas Toy, but they were not, like, if you bought the DVD, it just awkwardly starts and awkwardly ends.
Yeah. Yeah, it was on I bought it I think on Google Play digitally, and Kermit the Frog is in those as
Oh,
well.
nice.
So, and I was glad to see that. But yeah, I wish one of these days someone would unite the rights to all those Muppets back together. It's just kind of
Oh yeah,
sad
because
splintering
HBO
that has
owns
happened.
Sesame Street and Disney owns the proper Muppets, and then Jim
Yeah.
Henson owns, I think, the Fraggles still.
the Fraggles. Yeah, it's crazy. It's not right. You know, it's just
One day
kinda-
it's gonna be like Marvel, where they all are like gonna try and get them back under the
Yeah.
same umbrella.
Yes, I guess that'll be the next great feat. Once Disney acquires Spider-Man back from Sony, then they can start working on those Muppets. So I think that's the plan. I just got off the phone with Kevin Feige. I think that's the plan. So
They are definitely playing the long game with Sony.
yeah, right. Once these superhero movies fizzle out, the MCU is going to switch to the Muppet Cinematic Universe, and we'll just keep rolling. So.
I
I'd
mean, if
be
they
all
just
for
keep
that.
going
If
with the
they-
template they were doing in the early '90s, where they were just remaking classic works, I was like, people would come out for that. Like, now
Oh,
here's
yeah.
the Muppet X. Here's the Muppet. Here's Muppet Star Wars. Like, these are two properties we own. Let's just make them one thing.
Right. Yeah, that would they could see that Muppet Star Wars is a great idea, because that's one of my fondest memories growing up is the Muppet Babies cartoon, and they did so many Star Wars things.
Yes, they did.
And that would be such a great bit for them to do, and it doesn't have to be a epic movie release. I probably would work great on Disney Plus or something like that, but
It's funny. That's why we don't see Muppet Babies, like the original one, released anywhere like Disney Plus or DVD, because they have to pay the rights for all the clips they used. Like, they weren't making deals for home release when they made them. So it's like, well, this is stuck in limbo forever.
yes, unfortunately. That was a great show too. Great show. It might be one of the best Muppet things ever was Muppet Babies back then.
I have to say, criminally underrated is Muppets Tonight. I loved that show.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good too. That was good too. One of my favorite bands, legit favorite bands, is Dr. Teeth and Electric Mayhem.
I mean,
It's like-
yes.
Yeah, it's like anytime they play anything, I'm like all in. It's like I even tried. I didn't try as hard as I should have, but I even tried to like look up to see who the real band was, or at least the real musicians, who they were, because they are so good. But I thought, well, this would be easy to do with Google, and I kind of Googled it, and I like got to the second page. And I'm like, I ain't finding it. And I just
Yeah.
set my phone down.
I'm sure they want to keep that a secret, because I'm sure
Yeah.
they probably just have studio musicians rotating
I'm sure it's not the same
for at least
person every time.
some of the instruments, at least.
Yeah. I'm sure it's the only person that's the same is the vocalists, but other than that, I'm sure it's just a revolving door. But it's like if I could just find like one of the bass players or the bass player for this song, or something like that, I'd be excited.
You would think they'd keep the
then
same drummer, because you want to keep that same animal energy through all their songs.
Right. Yeah. then I could like shoot them a direct message through social media and be like, "Hey, you were tambourine player for this song on the Muppets." You know? Oh, at least they could do Muppet, like Disney Plus could do like a Muppet Christmas special like every year and make it like a tradition. That would be cool.
I mean, they did that Lady Gaga special. I guess it was really Lady Gaga's
Yeah.
special, and she had the Muppets on
Right.
it. But I was like, yeah, they could do that every year, like the old Andy Williams specials, but just with the Muppets,
Right.
and then have the
Yep.
cast of stars that Disney has in their corral stop by,
Yep.
and I would. I mean, what would be better than that?
Yeah, I mean, it's like they got that John Stamos is doing that show on Disney Plus now, and he would be cool for a Christmas Hollywood special kind of thing with the Muppets. He's been around Hollywood long enough for everybody to know who he is, and he seemed like that would be a good fit. And then you have Disney owns all the American Idol talent, so you'd have all those American Idol singers come on and sing, and even the ones that didn't make it very far, they're still wonderful singers. So you could have them come on and do a few songs here and there for Christmas. And man, I need to be in charge of this stuff. But,
I hope Disney's listening,
yeah,
because we're just handing you gold.
yeah, we just handed you gold. Make that Disney Plus something people want to buy. Not just pirate to all their friends. But yeah, I think it seems like. Well, I guess just us talking about it seems like an easy idea, but I'm sure there's a lot more that goes into it. But it's like, come on, it's Christmas specials. You shoot, you plan for it, you shoot it in July, and you just wait to release it. And
I mean, the
November
only thing you
1st
have to
or
pay
whatever.
rights for is whatever songs they sing, and they could pick public domain songs if they really wanted to. There's plenty of public
Yes.
domain Christmas songs.
Yeah, they could do that, or I'm sure there's people that would write new Christmas songs for them.
Oh, good point. Yeah, I'm sure they have in-house
Yeah.
people who will do that. I don't know why we're really workshopping this. Like Disney is
Yeah.
like on the other line taking notes. Like, I got it. Yeah, I got it.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna send this. I'm gonna send this video straight to Disney. Email at info@disney.com, and I'm sure it's really gonna go somewhere. So, but I was gonna tell you too before we got so sidetracked on Muppets and stuff. Swinging this back around to Can't Wait for Christmas. I remember one year you talked about the always leaving something Christmas decorations up on accident kind of thing, and how it always happens. And we always have this mistletoe that always gets left up in our house. It's always like it gets forgotten. It legit gets forgotten every year to get taken down until usually like March or something. And this year it was still hanging up there, and there were a few things on like the bookshelf in the dining room, some little Christmas figures. And I told my wife Holly, I was like, I'm just leaving them up. I'm just gonna leave them. I'm just leaving them sit there all year because I like to look at them, and they ain't hurting nobody. So,
Exactly.
it's like I went from we're just leaving this stuff up way too long by accident to before long it'd be a year-round tree upstairs in the living rooms.
I am at the new house. I have like an office. I have an area that's going to be my office. I am
Yeah.
reasonably sure I'm just going to leave a tree. We have 2 fake trees, so I'm just going to leave one in there
Yep.
all year.
Yeah, I've told the story 1,000 times. I put this one up in the basement a year or so ago, and I just love having it up all the time. It's not like wonderfully decorated or anything, but it's enough. Get some of them soft glow Christmas lights going. But I got to ask you this because it's been a while since I looked at a house, and you talked about moving. Me and my mom are the same way. When we first walk into a house and we're looking at it, no matter if we're going to buy it or not. My mom used to sell real estate, like I said before. So when I was a kid, we got to go into a lot of vacant houses because she would go into houses to look at them before she would show them. And it was like the first thing we always did when we walked in the house is be like, where would we put the Christmas tree? That's like the first thing we would decide.
So I'm not going to lie. When my wife was showing me houses, I was like, okay, where are the plugs outside so I can plug in the Christmas lights? Because I was more thinking of the outside of the house than where we put the tree on the inside of the house.
Yeah. Oh, that's something. At least you're thinking about thinking about that.
yeah, I was
There'd
like,
be
okay,
nothing
there's a
worse
plug
than buying a
here.
house and uh-huh. Yeah. Well, with LEDs and all that stuff, all you need is one plug now. So
True.
you can
Although it
you
is like
can
it's one of those. Like right now, I have a flat roof, but the house I'm moving into is one of those pointy, tall roofs. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have a Tim the
Yep.
Toolman Taylor moment where I just skid off the, like I'll be hanging the
Oh.
lights, and just.
yeah. Yeah, see, I'm not a big fan of ladders. Our roof's a little high, but not too bad. I can handle it pretty well, but I'm not a fan of ladders for some reason. It's like my big phobia. So maybe it's that whole falling thing.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm generally against falling.
No, actually, what it is it's extension ladders, the kind that just lean on the house. Those are the ones I don't like. I can do like the A-frame, the folding ladders, the A-frame ladders. I used to work at a job where I'd have to climb up a ladder like 40 feet on top of equipment, and that didn't bother me because the ladder was bolted to the side, you know.
But the ones
So
where
that
it's just
didn't
leaning,
bother
like
me.
it just.
Yeah, the ones you just extend it and lean it against the house, and you got I just no, thank you. I just don't like those at all.
That's legit. The ones I don't like
Yep.
are the ones that like fold up in like multiple, like so you can like fold it
Uh-huh.
and like it can go like this. Oh, sorry, this is just for the people on YouTube. Sorry, podcast listeners. But or, like you can go straight or you can fold it up like that, and like. Because I saw that one video on the internet where the guy was climbing over it and it started moving. He's like, now it's locked in. And he takes one more thing and he just goes, garoosh, and he just collapses.
Yes.
I was like,
I
oh,
have
that's
one-
going to be me.
Yeah, I have one like that, and it takes me about 20 minutes to make sure everything's locked in because I'm like OCD and making sure I checked it. Like, did I check that last one? I don't remember. I'll go check it again. And then part of it is because I just don't want to start the climbing process, So it's like, and then I get about 3 rungs up and like, I think I could stretch from here. So it's always my oldest boy is 17 now, so he gets up the ladder for me. So
Nice.
he inherited that job because I told him to. So
You're a man now.
you're
You
still
can
young
climb
and-
that ladder.
yeah, it's like if you fall, you still won't get hurt. So
Yeah, you'll bounce right back up and go, oh, that was scary. Whereas if
Yeah.
Dad falls,
Yeah.
oh, my back, forever my back.
I will. Yeah, I'll break and then I'll be out of work and then we won't have electricity. So which do you want? So one thing I've enjoyed about Can't Wait for Christmas is your Hallmark spoof. You used to do like the Mad Libs kind of thing for the Hallmark for Christmas
Yes, that was a fun.
a
that
while
was
back.
that was my listener involvement segment one year.
Yes,
and
yes.
that like it started out with like my idea was that people would say whatever Christmas thing and it would just sound like a Hallmark movie, but then it ended up just being regular Mad Libs where it just always sounded ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like the idea
But
was
that
like,
seemed
oh,
like-
it's so easy to write these; they'll all sound like a Hallmark movie. And then I was like, well, then I found out the next year it's not easy to write those, and also it's way funnier when people say random nouns and verbs.
Yes. Well, did that evolve into the a bomb for Christmas thing, or was that
I
where you
can't
got
remember
the?
where I got the idea to try that. At some point I thought, what if they did Hallmark? What if they did Die Hard as a Hallmark movie? Like then people would have to say it's a Christmas movie, and when I realized they would never do that, I said, well, I guess I have to do it. I think
Right.
Like I don't remember why that idea breezed into my head one day.
Well, I'm glad it did. It turned out fantastic. It
I
really
mean, I was
good.
really lucky because a lot of the listeners that I got, they were really good.
Yes. They were. It was. It had to be a lot of work putting all that together, all that sound and the sound effects and
Yeah, it's
all
like
the tracks and.
scouring the internet for free sounds I could use. I'm like, I need a helicopter flying away at medium speed. Like that is a really hard request for a public domain sound site.
Oh man, I see your Facebook advertisements after Google and all that stuff is supposed to be crazy.
Oh yeah, they're all wonky.
Yeah, yeah. I've been there too, trying to find nice sounds for stuff, and it's like, oh, I can't use this because it's copyrighted. But then it's like, well, it's just a generic noise, but it's on copyright, so you have to find something that's legit to use, but then it doesn't sound right, and so it is. I mean, it is a tough.
For the last episode of my show, I did an episode about Yiwu, China, which is a large manufacturing center in China that creates 60% of the world's Christmas decorations. And I went to find a picture of Yiwu, China for the album art that I could use, and there is no public domain pictures of Yiwu, China. I was like, what? Somebody couldn't help me out? So that picture of the Yiwu marketplace on the album art, spoiler alert, that's not. It's just a close-up of some other marketplace.
I'm surprised you didn't have a listener go, I've been there to Yiwu, China, and that is not it, sir.
I mean, it's early days. I only released the episode a couple days ago.
Well, now someone will listen to this, and they'll just get on there and bust your chops about
Timothy, it. I say. Did you think you could pass this imposter off? Apparently, it's a colonel from the Civil War that is writing me.
Right.
I don't know what that impression was.
Froghorn Leghorn gets mad at that stuff all the time. So.
Boy, I say boy. Pardon me, I'm coughing right in the mic.
That's right. Yeah, it's like I don't want to be Googling around for China, stuff about China too much. It's like.
Well, that was the other thing. Like I Googled just China. I'm like, well, that's even worse. If I just put some random picture of another part of China, then someone's be like, you just think every part of China is the same, Tim. I'm like, no, right. I just couldn't find anything for free.
Right.
Could I have paid a stock image photo site? Yes. Did I want to?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, and I bet Google Earth doesn't go that far down on China for some reason. I'm sure. But.
I mean, it did. There were some. I'm like, these look awful. And they also have Google Maps stamped across them so that you don't use them for the exact purpose I was going to use them for.
Yeah, that's true.
And if if that planning thing had worked out, I could have at least drawn something that, like I drew it, so that now it's I own the copyright to it. But again, It was like it was the morning of. I was like, I got to get something on there.
Oh yeah. You don't want to make it obvious that it's not that. Yeah, I understand trying to find something that will work that will not get you in trouble is tough.
Yeah,
I know.
Don't want to run afoul of anybody's lawyers.
Yes, I know that reaction video I did here on YouTube on Christmas by the Bay. I mean, I don't know how all those reaction videos channels. They have whole channels on YouTube that are reactions. I don't know how they do it. I need to research that a little bit more. But that was like instantly demonetized, which doesn't matter because it's not making any money anyway. But it's like, but there's a fair use clause that, if you do something like that, a reaction video, and stuff, that it's cool. You can use it, or like, if they come, when there's new Christmas albums this year, I should be able to listen to parts and review the album, because it's a commentary on it. But the thing is they instantly go demonetization. And then you have to prove that what you're doing is legit. And it's like, man, that seems like and there's, then you can get a copyright strike. And once you get 3 of those lifetime, your channel's deleted off YouTube. So.
Yeah, it makes me glad I'm no longer doing a Disney YouTube channel like I was when I start. That's how I start. My online life started. I was doing a series called Kingdom Comedy about Disneyland. And I mean, I was just straight using audio ripped from the parks.
Oh, wow.
And I guess it was early days of YouTube where they didn't care. Although a lot of it's still up there. I don't know. Like, my channel hasn't been taken down yet. I guess because it's
Yeah.
technically commentary on the parks, which is what, or you know,
Right.
yeah. So far, so good.
Well, I'll have to hunt that down.
Oh, it's youtube.com/TimBabComedian.
There we go. Maybe I can do a reaction video to your old videos.
There's a couple Christmas
It'll
related
be-
ones.
Yeah.
When they
That
brought
would
back
be
Captain
really-
EO, it was right around Christmas. Or when they announced they were bringing
Uh-huh.
back Captain EO after Michael Jackson died, it was right around Christmas time. So as
Uh-huh.
a thank you, Mickey Mouse, Kermit the Frog, Spider-Man, and Darth Vader sang Jingle Bells to the Imagineers for bringing back Captain EO. Does
Oh,
it make
mercy.
sense? Zero. It makes zero sense.
But it made you smile.
Exactly.
Oh.
And I went on
it's
It's a Small World at Christmas. Sorry.
Yes, that's probably a good thing that you did quit that, or you'd be in YouTube jail forever.
I mean, I would probably just have to change how I did it. And also, it's just because I don't
Yeah.
live there anymore. I don't have an annual I mean, nobody has an annual pass to Disneyland anymore, but I used to live in LA, so I would be like, oh, I'll just pop over, film. It was kind of the same thing with Christmas. Like, I have an unhealthy obsession with Disney, and specifically Disneyland as well. So I was like, well,
Right.
I'll just channel it into something. And it was,
Yeah.
another thing where like, hey, we also have an unhealthy obsession with Disney. I'm like, well, come along with me. We'll have some fun.
Yeah, yeah. There's I can't think of the name. There's a guy that does a Disney YouTube, and he's like getting ready to blog his trip to Disney World here this summer sometime. I can't think of the name of his channel now. If I think of it, I'll put it in the show notes in the description. But I remember hearing him on a YouTube channel I was listening to not long ago. So I guess there is a way to do it, but I've it just gets squirrely because you want to do all this stuff, but then you don't want to cross the lines and have it taken down, and you don't mean any harm or anything like that, and so it's really a fine line to walk, but it's worth it. Good thing about Christmas is a lot of the songs are general domain, and so you can just kind of put them up there and use them over and over, and that's why
It's hard to
that's why I
find
like
actual
Christmas podcast.
recordings of the songs that are public domain, because like Jingle Bells is in the public domain,
Mhm.
but like Nat King Cole's version of Jingle Bells is still owned by the Nat King Cole estate. Did he actually sing? I think
Is
yeah,
not.
he definitely sang Jingle Bells. I was like, wait,
Right.
did I just pick
Right.
the one artist who didn't record it? But no, he
Yeah.
totally did. Uh-oh.
Something I always wanted to ask you, Tim. You used to do, or still do, or planning to do. COVID's kind of threw a wrench in the thing. Stand-up comedy, which
Yes.
I find fascinating because I know I probably would not be very good at it. But
That hadn't
I-
stopped me.
well, but did you ever have any like Christmas bits? I know you're a big Christmas fan. Did you have any Christmas bits in your comedy, or did you just kind of just talk about general stuff that you get by with,
I
year-round?
talked a lot about nerdy stuff and then parenting stuff, and I tried, especially once I started the podcast, I tried to put more Christmas stuff in my act, but for some reason I just cannot get it to work because
Right.
I don't want to make fun of Christmas so that we all laugh at Christmas. And
Right.
hey, isn't Christmas awesome? Isn't that funny a joke? So I
Right.
was, trying to figure out where that happy medium was. The closest I have a joke about taking my son to Disneyland for the first time during Christmas.
Yeah. Because I was kind of wondered that. And do you have plans to get back out there once the COVID stuff kind of goes away to start doing some stand up again, or?
For sure. As soon as I am able to, I will get on a stage again.
Oh man, that'd be great. Maybe one of these days I can get out there and see you do some comedy live. That's one thing about Southeast Missouri. There's not much live stand-up comedy, so at all. I mean,
I'm sorry.
yeah. I mean, recently we had like 3 months before COVID, we had a comedy club open in town, like the first one ever, called the Laughing Gas, because I think that's, you have like 3 names to pick from when you open a comedy club, and Laughing Gas is
Yeah.
one, and Funny Bones the other, and So it's like,
Yeah, like yeah, it's always like some sort of like laugh, some sort of a bit about laughing or comedy or whatever, and then
yeah,
like a building. So it was like the Comedy Hut or the my comedian friend who was like, oh yeah, he's playing the Chuckle Helicopter out in Poughkeepsie. Like he was so much better at it than I am. He would just he would just pull two random words. He'd be like, "Oh, it's the Humor Pagoda over at," and he would always come up with a city. He was so funny.
oh man. Well, that's the thing is pulling the random cities. For some reason, when people just say something and pull a random city, it's like, like that place, Idaho Falls. It's like, oh, because I looked for comedy about Christmas, and there's not a lot of it out there at all. And I think it's because of what you said. It's hard to make fun of, especially if you like it, without.
Yeah, exactly.
So.
I think there's probably jokes about people having experiences at Christmas. Like, oh,
right.
My family's so crazy. Here's what happened at Christmas, or
right.
things like that.
Yeah, it's easier to do the comedy for Christmas when you can exaggerate the stuff like in the movies and things. And really, the only comedy sketch I found was by comedian Tim Hawkins, and it was a little bit, and it was more poking fun at the song "Do You Hear What I Hear" about how silly the lyrics are, and it's pretty hilarious. I'll send you the link here when we get off here, but it's pretty funny.
I used to listen to the Comedy Bang Bang podcast, and they do a Christmas episode every year. This is usually pretty amusing. But one year they were breaking down the lyrics to Little Drummer Boy, and the ox and lamb kept time, or I can't remember the exact lyrics, but blah blah, like two animals kept time is one of the lyrics, and the person's like, that's what the drummer is supposed to do. The drummer keeps time.
Yeah.
Like, you got one job, drummer boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, the baby smiled at me. He's less than a day old. He didn't smile at you. They don't have those facial muscles that move like they want to yet. They doesn't even have object permanence. Stop overinflating your ego, drummer boy. It was just a big long bit about how that song makes no sense.
Yeah, it's similar to what Tim Hawkins did with "Do You Hear What I Hear." He's like, the little lamb said to the shepherd boy, maybe the shepherd boy's been out in the field too long. He's like, what's he doing? Listening to the sheep, it's like, oh, he's like, oh. We must tell the mighty king, and then he goes to the mighty king, says, a child shivers in the cold, and the king's like, oh, let's bring him silver and gold. And he's like, how about a blanket if he's shivering in the cold? How about some soup? It's like he's gonna die of pneumonia, but he'll be loaded, So.
Yeah, gold is cold. It rhymes.
Yeah. So, but it's not that long of a bit. I think it's less than 2 minutes, but it's like, I've always enjoyed comedy quite a bit, and it just seems a little bit lacking for Christmas, but maybe one of these days we'll figure it out.
My one bit about it is, like I said, I took my son my oldest son, when he was 7 months old, to Disneyland for the first time, and we took him on It's a Small World, and I talk about how it's great because at Christmas they do it all up for Christmas, so you get to go through all the different countries of the world and see how they celebrate Christmas, including several countries that don't celebrate Christmas. You're like, is Christmas really big in the Middle East? Because I kind of thought that was part of the disconnect we were having. No? All right, well, jingle all the way in the snow in a desert. What's going on right now?
Yes.
And there's more to it than that, but that's the main Christmas chunk of it.
That's similar to the line every time the Band-Aid song "Feed the World" comes on, and it's like, do they know it's Christmas is all? Well, it's Christmas time at all? And I always tell my wife or whoever's around, so probably not, because it's probably a Muslim country, but being in Africa, so. But.
It's like they know. They just don't care.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There was a Christmas movie that made reference to that at one time when they were talking about Santa Claus making it around the world and how fast he would have to move for that to happen. And like one of the kids in the movie said, well, he doesn't have to because there's, so many countries that don't celebrate Christmas at all. So you got to eliminate those, which, makes it more feasible, I guess. But I can't even remember what movie that was. I've seen so many now that all kind of runs together.
I feel like Judge Reinhold and the kid from the Santa Claus have a conversation that involves that.
Maybe it is. Anthony will come unhinged if that's the movie, and I can't think of the name of it. But,
he's shouting at his podcast right now.
Yes.
His podcast player, I should say.
Yes. Yeah. He's getting ready to hit caps locks on me and go to town. So. But yeah, it's pretty good. Maybe it was Santa Claus. But, like I said, I've seen so many they kind of all run together after a while. But don't tell anybody.
Shh. No one's listening to this, are they? I'm getting paranoid. Is that a camera?
Oh, I think you said you're like me before that. Like your favorite Christmas movie is "It's a Wonderful Life," and we have that in common. That's my go-to for the this is when it's truly Christmas time kind of thing, and I always save it for a special time to watch it during the year, and it's not just one that's on in the background. So.
Exactly. Like it's not a movie that's like there's a lot of Christmas movies that I can just put on. I'm like, oh, this is just a light bit of fluff. Like this is okay. Yes. I'm going to sit down and watch this.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is funny. I rediscovered it that year that I didn't have a lot of Christmas. Like when everybody went to bed that Christmas night, I watched "It's a Wonderful Life," and I was like, I was like, oh, I had forgotten how good this movie is.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't really see that movie until the late 90s, and I just I was just married at the time and living on my own, for the first time in my life, and mid-20s, I guess. And it was Christmas, and for some reason I was at the house by myself that night, and I was like, I need to watch that movie, and I had bought it on DVD that year just because it's like, oh, this Christmas movie, I need to watch it. And I'm sit there on the couch and bawled like a baby the first time I watched it, and it took me several watchings before it didn't affect me that strong. I mean, it still gets to me, but before it didn't affect me that strong emotionally, and it's like, I just know it's absolutely Christmas. So I always wait till about a week before Christmas. I always make sure it's dark outside and just the Christmas tree's on and the house is quiet, and watch it. So.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm like, you know what, the family, you don't get to be around for this, like, cause you're just gonna ruin it.
Yeah.
I'm daddy time.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like, okay, if you're gonna be here, then you're not gonna be heard, So, but my wife shocked me this past year because theaters were hurting so much. They were renting out whole theaters for really cheap, where you could have 20 people come, and so she rented one out, and we watched "It's a Wonderful Life" on the big screen with my mom and dad, my sister and nieces, and my 4 kids, and my uncle and his son and wife came. They had lost he had lost his wife and their mom, my aunt, earlier in the year, so they came and being their first Christmas at that. So it was really a special time, and it was really cool, and everybody stayed apart, and we were just with people we were, close to anyway. So, and it was quite more of an experience on the big screen than I anticipated it being, which was really great. It's like I can see a lot more. It's like I can see a lot more of the details in the background and stuff like that, with the black and white than what I could.
It's just, I know people are like, oh, now that we've had a year of COVID, I'm never going to the movie theater again. But there is something so magical about seeing a movie in the theater. Like, I took a film class, and it was done in like, it wasn't a movie theater proper, but it was like a big auditorium at my college that was essentially, it was almost like a movie theater, and like you had the crowd, you had the big screen. And that's where I saw Casablanca for the first time. And I'm like, oh, that is the way to watch that movie. If you can, I mean, not necessarily in a film class, but like in a crowd with people again. Like, yeah, there's just something about the movie going experience that differentiates something that you just watch from something you really, I hate to use the experience again in the same sentence, but like it's more affecting.
Yeah.
To sit down in a movie theater and watch something. Like even an okay movie seems a lot better in the theater.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's that shared experience. The people really like to have that shared experience. And, you know, it's one of the few places we get it anymore is at the theater. Cause I remember when I was a kid and of course, you know, the Cosby Show was all the rage, you know, when I was a kid, and it's the biggest show on TV. So it was like Fridays, you know, it came on Thursday nights, and it's like, so Friday morning at school, all the kids were quoting all the funny lines from the Cosby Show, you know, because
did you see what Rudy did last night with the Jello pudding?
And, you know, so even though you weren't watching it together, it was like a shared experience, you know, that's something that you've seen together. And I think that's the cool. And I am all ready to be back in. We got Black Widow coming up in July, and I will be at the theater for that for sure. And we got 4 MCU movies this year, and another MCU series on Disney Plus coming next week. Loki's next week. So.
Oh wow! I didn't realize it was that soon.
Yeah, I think so.
Oh,
if it's not next week, it's the week after. I think it's
get that Loki action.
Yep. So. Yeah, so I am all ready to get back in the full groove, and it worked out perfect for the MCU. They couldn't have planned it any better. You know, let the Infinity Saga come to a conclusion, and you get one movie
and then we
after,
just had
and
to
then
take this nice long break after the Infinity Saga. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, then they got Spider-Man in after, you know, a few months after the Infinity Saga to kind of get, you know, set the tone for afterwards, and then a nice long break. And then once Black Widow hits, it's like almost every other month we get a new MCU movie for the next 2 years. So
it's just Black Widow just seems like such an odd way to restart. We've gone far away from Christmas, but
yes, it always happens on this.
Way.
It always happens on this show.
It's like, because like we know how this character's journey ends, so like, why are we starting the new thing with something old? I don't get it.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure Kevin Feige's got a plan. I know, but
yeah, there's got to be something vitally important to what's coming up in that movie, and then we got the Shang-Chi movie, which looked fantastic by the trailer. That trailer was probably the best trailer I've seen in a long time. And then that Eternals trailer just came out a few days ago, and it was really interesting. And
I gotta say, I don't know anything about the Eternals. I don't know anything about. It was, but like when Guardians of the Galaxy came out, I knew nothing about that before. Like I heard it was announced,
right.
And then I think I saw them on an episode of the Avengers cartoon when I was going through it on Netflix, and I was like, oh, that's the movie that's coming out. But like that trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy, you're like, look at how wacky this is. You're gonna love it. Like it really sold it. Whereas I feel like the Eternals trailer is like, like they're trying to keep like, look at this mystery. I'm like, yeah, I already had a mystery. I have no idea what this is gonna be about, and now I still don't know what this is gonna be about.
Yeah. See, there's one of my best friends, Jeremiah, we were always talking about MCU stuff. And I remember going to see Guardians of the Galaxy, and me and Holly went, and I was like nervous going into the theater because, you know, Marvel was on such a tear of making, you know, really good to great movies. And I was like, is this going to be their first bomb doing, you know, the raccoon and tree thing and, you know, going deep in space and kind of, you know, and I didn't know much about them either as far as characters. I just kind of knew who they were, you know, from a surface level. And I was like, for some reason, nervous, like it was my responsibility for the movie to be good or not. And I always, I always do this thing with my friends when I leave the theater and see a movie. When I send them a 1-word review, and it is my my thing. I send them a 1-word movie review. That way I don't spoil anything. And so I sent him in all capital letters with an exclamation point, now. Is what I see. It's like, he's like, what's that mean? And I'm like, go now. So, because it was so good.
I know how we bring the MCU talk back into Christmas. The Spider-Man movie is supposedly comes out during the Christmas season, and it takes place during Christmas time. So it'll be the second MCU Christmas movie.
Yes, it will be, and I look forward to that one. I hope they lean into Christmas a little bit more than what Iron Man 3 did. That would be wonderful.
Yes.
I wish Shazam would have leaned into Christmas a little bit more. I think it did. I think it had more Christmas than Iron Man 3 did. As far as
I was impressed. Not only does the main story take place during Christmas, but there's 2 flashbacks from 2 separate characters. They also flash back to past Christmases. Yeah. I was like, well, at least they kept it all Christmas.
Yeah, they did. And what I'm hoping, I would love to see somewhere either at the beginning or at the end, the Spider-Man swinging through New York with the snow and a Santa hat on. I would love to see that.
Or even just the visuals of swinging through while New York's all done up for Christmas, like through by the tree. Yeah. That is.
I mean, it doesn't have to be.
They still have time. Digital people, make it happen.
Yeah. Well, and we just keep writing checks for Disney, for them to cash. But they don't have to lean into it and make it like a Christmas specific movie, but just kind of lean in a little bit like that, just to give a little wink and a nod towards Christmas and give us some, great Christmas scenery or something, or, have Spider-Man with a web bag of toys and dropping it off or something,
Oh, that'd be great. I mean, I can't see how they would work that into a plot that seems to be stuffed with so much going on, but yes, that would be great.
Yeah.
Oh, and the Guardians are also doing a holiday special, not this year, but next year on Disney Plus.
Yes, 2022. That's going to be.
I'm here for that.
Yeah, I am too, and that's going to James Gunn's writing and directing that, so it should be very interesting. And I really can't wait to hear the soundtrack to that. I think the soundtrack's going to be really good. Yes,
exactly.
He's so good with the soundtracks on his movies, and so.
I don't even care about Suicide Squad, but his trailer for it, the trailer for it with the music that he picked, I'm like, I'm in. I'm gonna go watch that. I don't care. I've never cared about anything in the DCU other than Shazam and Wonder Woman.
Right.
But I'm here for this.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I was never a big DC fan in general. I always enjoyed the cartoons of theirs, but that's about it. And Wonder Woman was fine. I can live with that. Shazam, I really kind of like,
What a rave review. Yeah. Todd says Wonder Woman was fine. I can live with it. He raves. Put that on the jacket of the DVD.
But
sorry, I pictured it in a big bold quote.
Yeah,
your name
fine.
Underneath it.
That's fine. That's why other people are paid movie critics and not me.
I may mock that up and send it to you later, or maybe I'll just post it on Instagram and tag you.
There you go.
People, when this hasn't dropped yet, people will be like, "What are he talking about?"
That'd be great. Yeah, need 300 words on Wonder Woman 1984. It's fine. I can live with it. That's all I got to say.
Oh, 1984. Yeah, a lot of people didn't like that. Although that had a little bit of Christmas at the end too.
Yes. So, see, and my hard and fast rule is for Christmas movies is as long as it has some Christmas in it, it's a Christmas movie. I don't care about anything else, because it's too many people get in the weeds on what the plot's about and what's the determining factor for the character change and all this stuff. And it's like, yeah, but now you're splitting hairs, and it's like, well, how come this applies for this movie but doesn't this other movie? It's like, just if it's got Christmas in it, it's a Christmas movie. I don't care if it's for, a few minutes. And that does get me some silliness, like the Jurassic World movie where it's Christmas time and it's Christmas Day, but you only know that at the opening scene, and then after that, they're in the tropics, so it doesn't matter, and it's never spoken of again. But it's like, well, I got to stick to the rules, so maybe I'll feel like rampaging dinosaurs for Christmas sometime. But
I mean, different Christmas movies for different moods.
Yeah, there you go.
Like there doesn't have to be a narrow definition of Christmas movie.
Right.
There's
right.
Christmas movies and Christmas movies you don't like.
Right.
Not you,
right.
Todd. You, person who is saying Die Hard isn't a Christmas movie. All right, or it's a Christmas movie you don't like. That's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to like it.
There's plenty of room around my tree for all the movies that have Christmas in them. Exactly. And I will call them a Christmas movie. And the one movie
Harry
I haven't
Potter
got
has a part that takes place at Christmas. Christmas movie.
Yeah. I was talking with Jerry D and Michael Crystalman the other day about the anniversary of The Empire Strikes Back, and I said, it probably has enough snow in it to be considered a Christmas movie.
I should have picked that for the Merry Melee when I was picking a non-Christmas Christmas movie. I still like Frozen. Frozen was a good answer. I stand by it.
Frozen was probably the best answer, and I didn't even think of it at first. That when I write the questions, I kind of have like what I would have, and Frozen wasn't even on my radar, but that was a killer answer.
Oh, what were you thinking of? A Christmas movie a movie that's not a Christmas movie that has a Christmas vibe? What were you thinking?
I had Lethal Weapon on my mind, thinking about that.
See, that I feel like that technically counts because it's at Christmas.
Yeah.
So that's technically a Christmas. That was my intentional thought. Like, it can't actually be a Christmas movie or a movie that takes place at Christmas. I want a movie with no Christmas in it that somehow had a Christmas feel to it.
Yeah. See, and Frozen was so good because, like you said, the songs are used at Christmas time now, and it's like, dang. You're right, Tim.
Which was why Sound of Music would have been a second choice. Although I don't know if I haven't seen Sound of Music in forever. I don't know if there's a scene that takes place at Christmas.
Yeah. Another one would have been
forever.
I mean, Dumb and Dumber takes place at Christmas time, but it's not a Christmas movie. But it doesn't really feel like Christmas. Yeah.
I didn't know that was at Christmas. I knew one of the characters' names was Christmas.
Yeah. They have that scene where they're wearing the Christmas sweaters, and he's like daydreaming that he's the life of the party, and there's that party where there's a big Christmas tree in the background. I mean, it's like barely.
That's a daydream, so it's not taking place at Christmas. But I like where you're going with it.
Yeah. Well, do you need a good reason to watch Dumb and Dumber? I don't think you do. But I've been trying to think of like movies that are not Christmas movies that like would be better if they were, and that's really tough to do as well. And it's like, well, this would be better if it's a Christmas movie. It's like, okay, well then what would you do Christmassy in it? And it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, you could get lost in the weeds on that for a while.
Yeah. It's like...
You may have just given me a future 5 golden things.
There you go. I have this new segment that's going to be YouTube only coming out. And I used to do the recast, miscast stuff where I would take the Christmas movies and recast them with modern day actors as if they would remake them. And that would always stir the pot a little bit. And I wanted to do something a little bit different because there's not that many Christmas movies you can recast that people really care about. Once you get to about 10, it's like, they're done. It's like, I'm going to recast this Hallmark movie with modern actors. It's like, no, that's not going to work out. By the time you get Santa Claus done and Elf and Christmas Vacation and Christmas Story and like Jingle All the Way done, it's like, what else is there? It's a Wonderful Life. You could do that one.
I suppose you could take some of the more recent ones and recast them in like the 1940s.
Yeah, so go backwards with
it. If they did Jingle All the Way in 1945, who would play Arnold Schwarzenegger's part?
Right.
Whew.
John Wayne.
That's exactly where my mind went.
Yeah, that's the only one I can think of. John Wayne. But I have this thing and right now the tinted. I can't even talk, but the temporary title is Recast With, and I'm going to take a Christmas movie and then have to recast it with a cast of a television show, all the characters.
Oh,
But the trick is you have the choice of recasting the whole thing by the actors themselves and their abilities, or by the characters of the TV show. So I have one coming up. It's the Santa Claus, and I'm using the cast of The Office for that. And so either I have the choice of casting a character because of the actor who Steve Carell is, or as Michael Scott, so that might change who they play in the movie, that kind of thing. So
I still have not watched any of The Office since the Merry Melee.
Yeah. Well, I have the Tom, Anthony, and Julie are coming on in June to record with me, and we're doing a Christmas story with the cast of Friends. So
interesting, timely.
Yeah. Yes. So
that reunion just dropped recently.
Yeah. So we're going to do that, and I have a few others like that they're kind of, it'll be fun because it'll be, see who casts as the characters. If it's going to be, Ross, or they're going to cast Ross in there, or they're going to cast David Swimmer as the actor, so. Yeah, so
if you ever want to do one where you're recasting something with the cast or crew, with the cast or characters of Star Trek: The Next Generation, I'm your guy.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be cool because I went on a search not long ago trying to find any kind of Star Wars Christmas episode. And
Star Trek, sir.
Star Trek. I'm sorry, I misspoke.
How dare you? I'm just kidding.
I misspoke. I was thinking Star Trek because I was thinking Next Generation because they were the closest one, and I think it was like a scene in one episode.
Yes, where Data is reading the lines from A Christmas Carol as Scrooge.
Yes, and that was like
I recently did a rewatch of the entire series.
Yeah, that was like the closest thing to a Christmas episode I could find, and it's like, well, maybe that'd be enough to talk about it or something. But
also in the crossover movie Star Trek Generations, where Kirk and Picard meet for the first time.
Yes.
Picard is in the Nexus, and when he's there, he's celebrating Christmas with his imaginary family. So that's the only other piece of Christmas I know. Well, there might be some in Voyager, but who cares?
Right.
That's right. Come at me, Voyager fans. I hate that show.
But maybe we'll touch on those scenes, sometime. Be like, see you. Yeah. Yeah, see, I wouldn't want to do a Christmas Carol with the cast of The Next Generation because Picard's already did all that all by himself.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think we could do that. I think we could do that pretty well. In fact, I will bring you on, and I know which movie we'll do.
I was like, I just want not Michael Dorn, but Worf as something. I don't know what, but I want to put him in there somewhere because a Klingon in A Christmas Story is what we all need right now.
I was in a group chat with somebody, and we were talking about Star Trek and stuff, and for some reason I took my little Photoshop app I got on my phone where I make my stuff, and I put reindeer antlers on Worf and a red nose and sent it to him.
Worf is the Grinch. Yes, I can see it.
Yes. Yes.
Paint him green. Yes. Sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. I think I'll bring you back. Well, we got to do that. We'll do Star Trek Next Generation. I'll think of a movie. I have one in mind. I'll tell you when we quit recording because I want to have the ability to change and see what you think. But yeah, we'll definitely do that. That'd be a lot of fun. I didn't think
I'm
about
down.
going. Yeah, I didn't think.
Make it so.
Yes. Captain's Yule log.
Did you just come up with that right now? It's brilliant.
Yep, that's off the top of my head. Every once in a while, I'll come up with something kind of funny.
How do I not begin and end every of my shows with Captain's Yule log? Like, that's what I should have been doing. I'm just leaving money on the table.
You can have
You
it.
may have just named a new segment in my my podcast. I don't know what it's going to be about, but I'm doing it.
Hey, you could have it. You could do you could just make it like a, just like a paragraph on, something some Christmas observation of some kind, because that's all the log is just kind of what's going on right now, So.
Oh, that's just gold. That's just brilliant. That just needs to be it was just sitting there on the tree waiting to be plucked. And you were like, "Was anybody looking for this?"
Oh, mercy. Yeah. Every once in a while, I'll hit gold. But yeah, you can absolutely have that. I look forward to hearing what you come up with on that.
Something. So we've got it. It can't just sit there.
No,
This can't be the end of it.
Nope, it can't be. It can't be. There's somebody out there going, "Oh, I should have thought of that. That's so easy."
I bet if I Google it, I bet someone else has thought of that and done something with it. But
it could
no,
be.
I'll Google it later.
Yeah, it could be, but they're not as cool as we are. So
Exactly.
right, and they're not Christmas influencers like we are. So
Christmas influencers. Yeah, that's what I call myself.
Yeah. I put that on my resume.
Yeah, I set the trends for Christmas.
Yeah.
And by that I mean I just stick with the trends that have been going on with Christmas for years.
I just talk about the stuff everybody likes.
Who knows? Are people following me, or would they have done this anyway? It's a mystery. We'll never figure it out.
Oh, it always tickles me when people say, "I'm a social media influencer." It's like, are you really? Or is that just what you tell your mom? Get her off your back.
Even moms know at this point that's not a real career.
Right. Oh, but that's funny.
The sun's going down, so I had to make some artificial light.
Yes, that's fine. That's fine. But Tim, I think I'll let you go for now, because I want to talk to you a little bit about that Generations idea, Star Trek Next Generation idea. But sorry, people, I gotta have a private conversation with Tim, so I'm just gonna jump off here.
Well, thank you for letting me come on and yammer on your podcast.
Oh.
I enjoy it very much, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yes, and sorry it took so long. It's been 2 years. I started Clatter. This is the first time you've been solo, so thanks for doing the melees, and hopefully we can have you back many more times to chat with us and do silly Christmassy things with us, and we'll definitely have you back. But let everybody know where they can find Can't Wait for Christmas.
You can go to can'twaitforchristmaspod.com, or you can find us on Twitter at ChristmasPod, or Facebook and Instagram at Can't Wait for Christmas Pod. Or no, I think that's it. Social media presence nailed. Or you could just go to your favorite podcasting app, search up Can't Wait for Christmas, and hopefully it will find us.
Yep. And all the correct links will be in the show notes for the podcast. It will be in the description here on YouTube. And so you'll just be a click away. And I forgot what I was going to say, but I'll edit that out.
And go back and re-listen to the Merry Melee and hear me crush it.
Yes, go back and listen to Tim take home the gold in the Merry Melee.
AKA stumble into winning twice.
And for those listening here on YouTube, remember, keep Christmas hope alive every day.